The term for mixed race persons is crossbreed, not hybrid. Hybrid sounds like advertising language for a new product. Crossbreed is the fact of it, and that's the ordinary mixing of races, which is not to be confused with racial improvement. Racial improvement is the mixing. Racial improvement is the merging of two of the same race of the best quality to increase the quality without changing the race. So every race has to be appraised for their own racial category, rather than appraising different races for within. Well, the Olympics is bad for that reason, is that the hurdles only favor African athletes, at least partially African athletes. The hurdles are for people with long legs, and the biggest, longest legs win in running over the hurdles. And then there's individual accomplishment for intellectual performance, cognitive performance, individual performance. But it seems that's not as important as the cognitive performance of the entire nation. So, the performance of a nation, the cognitive performance of an entire nation, is affected by things like social chaos and the strength of the economy, and having a good social order. There can be a higher level average cognitive performance to make a nation which outperforms another nation with men who have bigger brains. So the the cognitive performance of the entire race, I should say, is more important than the cognitive performance of the outliers, of individuals who are outliers with extraordinary individual cognitive performance. That's not as important in the racial competition as the performance of the entire race. That's just recognizing that just because you have the biggest brain doesn't mean you invented everything. And there's nothing more, no major inventions left to be invented. And people don't know that unless they've thought about it for a while. But there was Nick Bostrom who said it, and I laughed at him at first, but it was true. There's only so many inventions to be invented, and nothing anybody can ever invent will be equal to or better than the microchip. And that was invented by the Chinese, Japanese, and Koreans. So they invented the greatest invention, and then white men said, well, we've got the biggest brains, we must have invented it. Apparently not. It seems that having a strong national economy, having a lot of social order, and having an emphasis on industry, the most manufacturing, and also the most extraction of metals from ore, and crucially the extraction of what they call rare earth metals from ore, so that they could have those rare elements for their teams of materials scientists to find the right semiconductor materials to put into the process of the microchip. Wouldn't work without the right elements to make the transistors. And the Chinese, the Koreans, and the Japanese, Chinese, Koreans, whatever. Taiwanese I consider to be Chinese. It's right off of mainland China. And it was the Chinese economy, the Asian economy, that excelled in manufacturing and had the most scientists to make it happen, and they did. And then white men said, "We got the biggest brains. We must have invented that. We must have given him the answers." Well, they probably acquired some of the answers with their strong economy and their sex bribes, but they actually had the best, the most scientists on the job, the most access to rare elements from their strong manufacturing sector and their huge economy and their huge industries. So China accomplished it. And then the whites said, "Well, we already had a computer. We had it during World War II. It was called the Colossus, and we used it to break the encryption of the Germans, the Enigma encryption machine. We had this computer. It was called the Colossus, and it never existed. I'm convinced of that." So that's all for this video.